Okay, it's about that time. We're on, we're live, we're big, we're bad. We're talking about relationships, we're talking about love. All right, so let's get into it. Just a few housekeeping things. First of all, I want everybody to, hey, Kathy St. John, how are you? Hello, Wendy. How are you? Hey, Lynn Stewart. Hey. If I'm a widow, should I be in this group? Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yes, this group is for you. This group is for you. Also, Clark, Luana. Hey, Martha K. How are you? Yeah, and I thank you for asking that, Kathy, because we're talking about relationships. And one thing I want you to understand is that, especially if you've suffered from a grief situation, that we definitely want you to be in. I've had a number of friends who have gone through grief, where they've been, widows or widowers, etc. And it's almost having to rethink and reorient yourself, into what relationships will look like, because you've become so focused and so concerned with this one type of relationship, with this one relationship, that sometimes now, in order to meet other people who are different than your previous or your late spouse or your late, significant other, you have to sort of orient yourself now in a more broader, a broader scope. Okay. You're gonna have to reacquaint me with that question, Kathy. You have to reacquaint me. I remember the question you asked about. You gotta finish that sentence, okay? Yeah, when you get my age, hey, you can't just expect me to remember stuff. I'm saying all that to say it's important for you to be here. It's important for everyone to be here. In fact, let me say this. Yes. And we can talk a little bit about that at the end of our meeting tonight. About forgiveness regarding your previous spouse when he died. That's really important. And I do want to touch on that, because I want to make sure that especially for you guys who are tuned in, that you're actually getting the kind of information you need. So if you bring that up a little bit, just remind me, say, let's talk about this at the very end. That would be great to do. Listen, but I want you to know that there are some changes happening in your in the app. And right now, if some of you are signing on and you go into the live and you see a subscription come up, right now the live is free, and we want to keep it that way as long as we can. But there will be a commitment at some point. But for right now, it is free, because what we want you to do is we want to tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your, mom and them, tell cousin Jeter and all of them that to come on and join the app, get involved, so we can get this information and learn and grow and help each other. It's so important that we do that. So we want to keep it right now where it is for a little while longer. But please, excellent. But please, let's get rocking and rolling, okay? Because we are going to grow this thing. And I'm so excited about some of the things that are about to happen. I want to jump right into it, because we were talking about decoding the nonverbals last time. I'm going to go a little bit further with that, okay? I'm going to go a little bit further with decoding the nonverbals and what that looks like and what that means. We talked last week about, facial expressions and gestures, but I want you to really, really, really help me tonight, okay? I don't want this to be a lecture. We talked about paralinguistics with the loudness and the tone and the pitch and the intensity of your voice. And also we talked a little bit about body language, what your body language says. These are principles that you need to learn to communicate with anyone in any environment, okay? It's so important. Did you know that someone asked me once, what is the number one thing that you would tell people about relationships? The number one thing that you can tell them about how to have a better relationship. And I told them, mastering your communication style. Mastering your communication. How many of you have ever been with someone who does not communicate well, and you're trying to get information to them, but either they're not perceiving it, or they're not consuming it, or they're not able to give it back? It's frustrating. Am I right, Luana? Yes. And sometimes we want to downplay or disregard the idea that how important communication is. I'm telling you something. In all things relationship, communication is key. And we're not just talking about love situations. If you don't communicate properly with your boss on your job, if he doesn't know exactly or she doesn't know exactly what you're saying, what you're feeling, it's almost important for you to advance. You say, and I'm not mad at, and then being hostile in there. Yeah, absolutely. So I want you to understand the importance of relating to one another in a way that's clear and concise. So many people have lost out on love, lost out on opportunities, lost out on friendships, misunderstandings, because of just ridiculous misunderstandings. And let me share this, because let me just say this real quick. This is a problem I got with this texting world, even though we're using a lot of texting here. The problem I got with the texting world is that it does not text emotions. It doesn't share emotions. Texting does not give emotions. It gives black and white words. I'll give you an example. Somebody text to me right now, only emojis, Someone text to me right now, how do you feel? How do you feel? And I'm going to wait a second because I want you to respond via text. How do you feel? And I know there are more people on here. Somebody gave the emoji sad. Now, okay, Lynn Stewart, you gave that emoji sad. Okay. Is that sad or is that sad or is that grieving? Is that bereaved? I mean, what does that mean? Kathy said, never mind. Okay. Melanie says she's happy. What does that mean? Are you elated? Are you happy? Are you kind of happy? Are you really happy? You're excited? I mean, great. Now, great is one of those that we use quite often. Great means that I feel great. I'm excited, ready to take on the world. Or I feel, I'm great. Not sad, but blah. Exactly. Exhausted, Martha K says. Exhausted, is that a feeling? Okay, yeah, we'll go with it. I feel exhausted. The word never mind has gotten me in more trouble with people. Oh my God, please. Yes. So when we talk about, and thank you for sharing with that. Those of you all who didn't share, that's okay. I'm going to take your silence as consent. But it's so important to understand that you're communicating the way you feel, and doing it with words. Doing it with words that are clear and that are concise and words that people can understand is so valuable and so important. In you advancing your relationships and advancing your life. Okay, so when it comes to communicating, we're talking about nonverbals. I'm going to dig into this a little bit. One of the nonverbals that we often encounter when it comes to communicating with people, especially people in the dating world, is proxemics. Okay, now we dealt with paralinguistics before. Now I'm dealing with proxemics. Now you might, what the heck is proxemics? Okay, proxemics refer to personal space. Think of the word proximity, okay, closeness or distance, proximity. We all have a bubble we like to keep around ourselves. Y'all chime in if you understand what I'm saying. We all have a bubble that we like to keep around ourselves. And when people get too close, we often feel a little bit discomfort or discouraged. These are known as proxemics, our bubble, the thing that we have around us. And this is another way that we communicate non-verbally, okay, by how close we are. You ever known anybody who wants to talk to you and they get right up in your face? I mean, right up in your face. So you can see the freckles and the indentations. You can see the color of their eyeballs right up in your face. Now, just me doing that made it uncomfortable, right? But I know that is probably the most disarming way to communicate. So if you're going out on a date, your first date especially, I want you to understand the value of proxemics. Okay, it's what's it like Drew Barrymore. She communicates with people. And then thank you for that, Lynn, because what happens is that people believe that that's a way of relating, but it's not. It's not always. It's not always. If I'm talking, tell me more. I want to know more about your life. You know, that's weird. It's just weird. It is disarming. It is not always a matter of you getting into my space. Hey, Nick, it's not always a matter of you becoming relatable to me. Sometimes that is disarming, and you may be okay with breaching that bubble, but other people are not. Okay. As a matter of fact, the amount of personal space needed when having a casual relationship, most social scientists say, is about 18 inches. About 18 inches to about 4 feet. Okay? About 18 inches of space you need from somebody. I want you to think about that. You don't need to, and if you're going to communicate well. Now, if you're in a relationship, in a romantic relationship, you know, hey, it's all good, baby. You know, come on in close to me. You know, that's okay. That's all good. But the fact of the matter is that in normal relationships, you went on a first date, and you know, it's so important to understand, or you're going out on a date, it's so important to understand your proxemics and what your limits are, your proxemics and their limits. Okay, bubble poppers are the worst. Yeshua says bubble poppers are the worst. I like to watch the show Seinfeld, and he wouldn't date a girl because she was a close talker. When she talks, she's right up in your face. It is annoying. If you want to make people comfortable around you, understand the value in proxemics. Understand how close you ought to be to someone. And if you're in a personal relationship, 18 inches is great. But if I'm talking to you, unless I'm actually coming in and you're whispering something, and even if you're whispering, don't touch my ear. I want to feel your moisture. But but it's important to keep that distance. Now, I'm going to share this with you. And I know I'm giving you information here. Sometimes we can be have this back and forth, which is great, and I want that. But sometimes I need to give you information, so I want you to hear this. For intimate distances, 18 inches is appropriate. For intimate, this closest space reserved for close friendships, 18 inches. Okay. Now the personal distance for family and friends, 1.5 to 4 feet. People who are not like intimate, 1.5 feet. 1.5 to 4 feet. All right. When you get into social distancing, if you're out on an elevator, that's why people are so uncomfortable in elevators. I know. I said moisture. Yes, I did say moisture. If you're social distancing, more informal interactions, you know, like acquaintances, or you're just on elevators, 4 to 12 feet. That's why people get so uncomfortable on elevators, because you're breaking their bubble. You know, they'll stand there, look at the wall. They don't know what to do with themselves. They have no clue, because you're in that little space. And did you know the social scientists say that for public distances, if you're in public, especially if you're speaking to someone, people feel most comfortable around 12 feet away with larger crowds. All right? So it's important for you, as you communicate with one another, to understand how important distance is. Understand how important distance is, and understand that your proxemics have to be in order if you're going to be communicating well. And in personal relationships, I'm going to tell you something. The first thing that suffers when there's anger is proxemics. The first thing that starts to leave is proxemics. Think about it. If you're married, you understand this. You get in an argument. You might be touching each other, and what happens? You move away. And now, instead of cuddling up and spooning in the bed, you on the east and she on the west, or you on the north and south, however your bed is formed. Because you've separated yourselves now, you know, because you're no longer intimate. The more intimate we are, the closer we want to be. Okay, so understand, sometimes you have to force yourself. If you're the kind of person who historically you've always been, you know, sort of at distance with people, sometimes you have to force yourself out of that bubble to sort of get closer to people. Does that make sense to you guys? I want you to understand that. If it makes sense, I need you to respond and let me know you're out there, because it's so important that when you're talking, when you're communicating with people, to understand the value of distance. In fact, if someone is upset at you, we talked about distance. Someone upset at you. One thing that you have to do sometimes move a little closer. Okay? Move a little closer. If you can feel that distance, because I believe we're all spirit people. I didn't say spiritual. I said we're all spirit people. And I believe that sometimes you can tell when there's distance. You can tell when there's something separating you from another person. You can tell when there's a problem. That's why you ask, are you okay? What's wrong? You can tell sometimes people just walk in a room if their aura is different. You know, it's just a problem. So sometimes you have to force yourself to break that bubble, to maybe create a little discomfort so that people can become close. Okay, especially in an intimate relationship. And if you feel that someone is distancing themselves physically, increase the proxemics. Okay, you know what? I know that there's something going on. Just walk a little closer. What's happening? Let's talk. And if there's a comfort, it'll kind of break that wall. I hope you're getting it. All right. Now that's proxemics. All right. Now, let's talk about, and some of the other nonverbals that you have to decode, like eye gazing, you know, looking at each other. I was always told that when you talk to somebody, you know, when I was growing up, my mother always told me this, that you look at a man straight in the eye. Look at people straight in the eye. You know, it shows truth. When you look at someone right in the eye, you know, you're not shifty-eyed. You know, normal steady eye contact is a sign of honesty and trust. You can tell if somebody's lying by when they won't look you in the eye. I mean, at least somebody with a soul, you know, somebody with a soul, somebody with morals. If they don't look you in the eye, it's because chances are there's some dishonesty there or some insecurity. But if you want, again, we're talking about how to communicate, look people in the eye. Okay, shifty eyes, inability to maintain contact is deceptive. But when I can just look at you in the eye, it shows that there's some trustworthiness there, and I'm not afraid to bare my soul. Okay, let's look at some of these. I always get tired of hearing there's nothing wrong, so I quit asking. Oh my God, yes. And I'm going to share some. Look, guys. If someone goes out of their way to ask you, for whatever reason, they ask you, are you okay? Is something wrong? Is something bothering you? Irrespective of why they ask, if they go out of their way to ask that, do them the honor of at least answering honestly and saying, yeah, you know what? And we talked about this last time. Yes, I'm bothered by that. But I want to talk to a little later. I talk about it a little later. I want time to process it. But yes, I was bothered. Do not say nothing. Don't do that. It's dishonest and it continues the separation. Okay. My grandfather was from Ireland, and he said if a person would not look you in the eye, steer clear. Absolutely. There are some cultures where eye contact is disrespectful. Maybe there are. It's not the Western culture. So I don't know. But let me let you know something. If that is the case, and maybe in some Eastern cultures, I believe that to be true, especially looking at someone in authority, so they will kind of look down or what have you, etc. I get that. But and you're gonna have to feel that out. You're gonna have to feel that out. But generally speaking, eye contact among equals, eye contact among social equals, among intimate equals is always respected. Okay. So, and lastly, because I want to get through this, finish up with this before we go back into next Tuesday, haptics. I want to talk to you about touching, which we refer to as haptics, Haptics, haptics have to do with touching. People, communicating through touch is so powerful. And I'm expecting Wendy to join in a minute because I'm talking about touching. But communicating through touching is so important because when it comes to touch, there is nothing that can bring closeness, nonverbal closeness, more than physical touch. Touch can communicate affection, it communicates familiarity, sympathy, and a whole range of emotions. Now, I'm talking about platonic touch also. Now, you know how the other touch can do, right? But platonic touch, I mean, there's a whole range of emotions that are transferred through touching. And so when it comes down to actually communicating effectively to someone, especially, and we teach this quite often when it comes to people who are arguing, we teach them to exactly, thank you, Yeshua, to run to reconcile, which is one thing that we teach. But the other thing is that remember to touch, especially when you're angry, especially when there's a problem, especially when you're pissed off at someone. Reach out and don't touch them hard because that's considered a hit. Reach out and gently touch. Put your hand on their hand. Now, this happens in bed. This is for married folk, okay? Single people, okay. Remember this until you get married. But when you're in bed and you've had an argument, and you know how you go from east to west, I challenge you. Force yourself to break through the bubble and literally touch people. It could be just like just a toe touch. It could be anything, but touch. There is something that happens chemically, and there she goes. There's something that happens chemically when people touch each other. My wife says sometimes people like the hard touches. I knew she'd be here. But touching is so important. And one thing that Yeshua was saying here is run to reconcile. This is something that we must remember. We must remember that running to reconcile. What does this mean? And it means basically that irrespective of whoever had the issue, or who recognized it first, the person who recognizes the issue is the one who should initiate reconciliation. And in your relationship, you should always be running to reconcile, you should be beating each other up to reconcile, not physically, but you should be rushing and racing to beat the other person to reconciliation. That's a healthy relationship. When both of you are so concerned about the good stuff that you want to get through this, that both of you are like, okay, I'm sorry. No, okay, tell me. No, you tell me. Okay, fine. You get to that point where you know there's going to be reconciliation. You know that touch is going to be restored because you both are rushing to make this thing right. Nick said that just happened on Love Island All Stars. I don't watch it, but okay. The couple in an argument and the girl kissed him. Yeah. Ooh, you know how hot that is? I didn't see the show. But if you're arguing with someone and they kiss, come on now. All of a sudden you're mad and you just grab her and kiss her. And kiss her. It changes the whole thing. I mean, if she don't bite you or nothing, or vice versa, it changes the entire tenor of the conversation because touch is important. And Straw said he ain't lying. All right. Okay. And Straw says, humble yourself and apologize first if it's all possible. A soft answer turns away wrath. Thank you for that proverb. A soft answer turns away wrath. I'm here to tell you, you can win more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And so a soft answer. And if I could just get people to understand, oh my God, that listen, if someone is upset at you, 9 times out of 10, they don't want to be upset. They don't want to be upset. They want reconciliation. Okay? They want it. All right. I'm going to, for the last few minutes, I didn't forget you, Kathy. You talked about forgiveness for a person your former person, your ex-husband, I assume, who passed on. And how do you deal with forgiveness for something like that? And because you were angry, am I correct? You were angry because he left you. And so there's a tendency for that anger to turn into unforgiveness. He called out for someone else at the time he was dying. Another woman that wasn't his mother, I assume. And you were the one taking care of him. Yeah. Okay, here's the thing about this. And I want to be, and I thank you, first of all, for being so honest. I want you guys to hang on for a second while we deal with this. Thank you so much, Kathy, for being honest and for sharing that. And I want to deal with this very quickly. When it comes to forgiveness, understand that whenever there's death, okay, you said no. I don't know what you're saying no to. But anyway, when it comes to death, we all go through stages. Okay, we all go through stages. There's denial. First of all, I can't believe that happened. Oh my God, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. And then there's anger. And then there's bargaining. Well, maybe if that didn't happen, maybe I could have done something. Maybe I should have done something. Maybe if this had happened, then that would have happened. Then there's depression, okay, which is just intense sadness. And from that depression, there's reflection. And then that reflection brings on acceptance, okay? And what happens in a situation like yours, when someone is dying and then they call out to someone, it psychologically, when a person is nearing death, and you'll see this in the George Floyd case. I hate to bring up something that's sad, but you'll see this in this case when he felt that he was dying. He called out his mother. His mother had been dead for years, but he started calling out his mom because that was a person of comfort for him. And quite often people do that at their very last hours. They call out for their mother. If they're in very dire straits, they'll do that. So I understand the anger that would come from that because you're going through the stages of grief. But understand also that during those periods that person, okay, you've thrown me another curveball. That during those periods that person actually is going through a seriously emotionally cathartic time. And after his death, you found out he had cheated, which made it extremely hard. I'm still dealing with it. Listen, let me tell you something, girl. The thing about death is this. It doesn't care where you are in life. It doesn't care where you are in life. It doesn't care what you've gone through. It doesn't care what you've experienced. It comes suddenly and it comes painfully. It really does. It comes suddenly and painfully. And so what happens is that when it comes, irrespective of what's going on in your life, it's there. So what you have to resolve in your heart, okay, is that you did all that you could. You did all you could. You were the best person that you could be. And you never, ever, ever, you never have to regret being the best person you are to someone else, even if they're not being the best person to you. And irrespective of his death or if he's still living, you have to resolve in the fact, I was the best person for him. I was the best I could be for him. Okay? As far as the anger and the unforgiveness, you must forgive. Now, this is what I suggest you do. I suggest you write a letter to him. He's gone. Write a letter to him and get out everything you can think of, every pain, every anger, everything you can think of. You write that letter, and then you take some time, make sure you get it all, and then you burn it up. I know you feel you was cheated. I feel I was cheated out of clearing it up. No, you were not. This is how you clear it up. You don't need another person to get closure. You can get closure on your own. You get closure by realizing the worth and the benefit that you were in that relationship and what you did in that relationship to be good, what you did in that relationship to pour yourself out, to give yourself to him, to take care of him in the very end. And you can achieve closure. I suggest also that you consider, I don't know if you're a spiritual person or not, but that you consider also meditation. You consider more of a vertical relationship. You know, I believe in God. You consider the universe. I don't know where you are in that spectrum, but I want you to also understand that you have to, great. Well, then you have to also reach out to someone who is much higher than you, because it's hard for us to forgive when we're just looking horizontally. We have to look vertically. Okay, we have to look vertically and realize that, you know what, God understood what that person was going through. He understood everything that person was going through. And he also understood my role in that person's life. And I was there for a reason. I was there to help usher them into the next life. I was there to usher them onto the next level. Okay, I now cannot hold on to the pain that I experienced, because your forgiveness is not for him. Your forgiveness is for you. Okay? Your forgiveness is for you. You got to forgive and let go. And realize you did your best. And it's done. And then change your language about it. Stop saying I don't forgive and start saying I forgive. I forgive. I forgive. I forgive you. It's done. It's because the moment you start speaking that into your own life, what you're going to find is that you're going to start reworking the way you think. But you got to do that, okay? All right. If you want more we look at some of the resources in the app. There's more information there. We're going to be talking more on Tuesday. I want to know how you're doing. I want to know how you're dealing with it and everything, because that's very painful. But again, you are forgiven. You have forgiven him. Now it's time to move on. Okay? Thank you, guys. Appreciate you so much. Took a little longer today, but I hope it was okay. All right. So please, let's get ready. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your cousins and whoever, because on Tuesday, we're going to be back and we're going to bring you something real special. Okay. So look forward to talking to you guys on Tuesday. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.